I am reading Wallace and Grace Take the Case again today, and I am on chapter 2. And chapter 2 is called Do They Take the Case? So it's asking a question. A ghost in the garden, cried Grace, her big eyes opened wide. Will you help me? Asked Edgar. His whiskers twitched. He looked scared. You want us to find the ghost? Asked Grace. This is Edgar, Wallace, and Grace looking into the garden, acting scared because they're worried there's a ghost in the garden. The Night Owl Detective Agency is good at finding things, said Wallace, but we have never found a ghost. I don't want to find the ghost, said Edgar. What do you want us to do? Asked Grace. I want you to make the ghost go away, said Edgar. Can you do that? Said Wallace. Wallace always says, when he's thinking. Wallace did a lot of thinking. He pulled out his detective notebook and pencil. He had found the little pencil at a mini golf place. I want to show you the picture before I turn the page, and this is a picture of Wallace thinking with his golf pencil and notebook. He had also found a yellow golf ball. He was good at spotting things from high in the sky. Now he wrote in his notebook, Ghost in garden. When did you see the ghost? Grace asked Edgar. Grace always asked the questions. Wallace wrote the answers. That was how they worked. Just now, said Edgar, I was munching leafy green kale in the garden. Then I saw something white. White, wrote Wallace. Ghosts are white, said Grace, but so are baseballs and marshmallows, said Wallace. It wasn't a marshmallow, said Edgar. Do you know that the biggest marshmallow was taller than a house? Asked Grace. It is a fact. So here is Edgar thinking of his leafy green kale that he was eating in the garden. Grace is full of facts, said Wallace. It was not a marshmallow, said Edgar. Anyway, I am not scared of marshmallows. A big marshmallow could be scary, just saying, said Wallace. He liked to point out these things. Okay, fine. No marshmallow in the garden, said Grace. What did the white thing look like? This is them thinking of the marshmallow that is bigger than the house. That's pretty crazy if that were real life. The white thing was floating, said Edgar. Floating, wrote Wallace. Ghosts float, cried Grace. It was white and it was floating. It is a ghost. Hold up, said Wallace. We need more facts. So this is them talking about the floating white thing, and Grace is picturing a ghost. The white floating thing made a noise, said Edgar. A spooky noise. Ghosts make spooky noises, Grace said to Wallace. Said Wallace. Then he wrote, spooky noise. You need to stay away from that garden, Grace warned Edgar. I can't stay away. The kale in the garden is the best. Edgar licked his lips. But I don't want to share with a ghost. Will you take my case? Wallace and Grace looked at each other. The Night Owl Detective Agency had rules. Rule number 1 was both partners had to say yes. They needed a partner talk. We will be back, Wallace told Edgar. Then he and Grace flew to a tree stump nearby. This is Edgar pleading with them to take the case. Wallace quickly spotted a big beetle with a hard shell. He ate it with a big crunch. Grace sighed. She wished she had seen that beetle first. Wallace was so good at finding things. Do you want to find a ghost? Grace asked Wallace. We don't know that it is a ghost, said Wallace. It sounds like a ghost, said Grace. Here is Wallace eating the beetle, and Grace sounds like she's jealous that she didn't find the beetle first. She pointed to his notes. White, floating, spooky were the notes that he wrote down. Are you scared of a ghost? Asked Wallace. A little, said Grace, but Grace was more than a little scared. She was a lot scared. Me too, said Wallace. This is quite the quandary, said Grace. What does that mean? Asked Wallace. Grace liked to use big words. It means it is a tricky choice, said Grace. You could have just said that, said Wallace. So here's a picture of his notebook, and you can see what Wallace wrote. It says white, floating, and a spooky noise. I did, Grace folded her wings. What should we do? Edgar needs our help, said Wallace, and detectives always help when they are needed. That is true, said Grace. Detectives are brave. We are detectives. I think we should be brave, said Wallace. Grace gulped. This case was getting trickier and trickier. Okay, we will be brave, she said. They flew back to Edgar. Wallace and Grace will take the case, said Grace. Here is Grace and Wallace deciding they're going to act brave and they're going to be brave during the case. Woohoo! Edgar hopped up and down. Let's go find the ghost, said Wallace. And Edgar's excited that they're taking his case. And that is the end of chapter 2. I will see you next time. Have a great week.